Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for the second edition of COPING-19, a conversation with resilient retail leaders powered by Heyday. My name is Etienne Marino. I'm the co-founder and CMO of Heyday.ai, a conversational commerce platform for retail and CPG brands. For this week's edition, we're really pleased. We've assembled a star-studded panel with experts in the beauty industry, obviously. And as you know, the coronavirus crisis has put a lot of pressure on beauty brands, right? With the store closure. So it's been forcing leaders to pivot and adapt. And today, our group of panelists will be sharing how they've been coping with this change and trade their notes, insights, and perspectives on the crisis, but also moving forward, what are the strategies they're adopting. So without further ado, let's introduce our stars, our speakers. We have Caroline Fraser, Head of Communications in France for L'Oréal Professionnel. Thanks for joining us from across the ocean, Caroline.
You're welcome.
Also joining us is Raphael Abesca, the General Manager of Makeup Forever Canada, an LVMH brand, and he's, with full disclosure, one of our dearest partners at Heyday. So welcome, Raphael, and really happy to have you join us today.
Thank you, Etienne. Thank you for having us, and good morning, everyone.
And last but not least, we have Ida Shenkute, the brand general manager at Fresh Canada, also an LVMH brand. So welcome, Ida.
Thank you for having me.
And we realize it's also kind of a university reunion because Caroline and Ida actually studied together. I didn't even know that when I approached both of you. So we're kind of killing two birds with one stone today. All right, so ladies and Raphael, welcome to our virtual stage. And I think you deserve a little, a little sound effects to put you in the mood. So welcome officially to our virtual stage. And by the way, message to our audience, don't be shy to ask your questions. There's a tab, I believe, on the right where you can submit your questions, and we'll take some time at the end for a live Q&A. To get more questions and more answers from our experts. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So needless to say, I mean, it's been a challenging Q2 for, well, the entire world, but for beauty brands as well. And when COVID-19 hit, I mean, obviously, like, there's no playbook here, but what was your first decision as a leader? Because you need to react quick, and I'm curious to know each, different perspectives, different types of brands and business models, and even geographies. But what was your first decision as a leader to pivot and adapt to the changing dynamics? Anyone can jump in to start.
So I can start. This is Ida from Fresh. I think our computer is frozen a little bit, so the screen is frozen. But I think the first decision that we made at Fresh Canada was to really listen. I think the most important thing is to listen to our teams, listening to our communities, and listening to our partners internally and externally. We partner very closely with Sephora, so they were very important for us in this process. They were able to, let us know what was trending, what was working, what was not working. Listening to our internal partners, China, the China team had experienced this a month prior to all of us in North America here. So really connecting with them and see what they did to pivot. And then listening to our communities. I think, localizing our efforts was very important at this time. So them and understanding what they were going through, what they did. And then at the end of the day, we saw that everything led to digital, and skincare was something that was trending really well. So really listening was one of the key things that we did quickly, and also acting fast. Those are two things that really helped us.
Awesome. Raphael or Caroline, do you want to add your perspectives on basically the first move you did when the crisis hit?
Sure, happy to. Well, when as we closed our store and offices to keep our employees safe, the main thing that all teams were asking was how can we stay connected to our consumers during this time. So this is what we did, and we stayed focused on this constantly. This meant listening to the needs, as Ida just shared, the needs of our community, of our consumers, while also leveraging all the digital tools we could to remain connected. Yeah, that would be the most, I would say the most important thing was to remain connected and to obviously listen and adapt all the tools we have in the current context.
So on our side, so I work for L'Oréal Professionnel, which is not to be confused with L'Oréal Paris. So we sell our products in hair salons, and the services are also perfumed hair salons. So not only you cannot color yourself with professional coloration, but you need to have the expertise of the hair artist. So that was a deep challenge because we didn't have access to e-commerce for most of our products. We also have retail products for the professional products. So the first thing we did, we thought about our clients as business partners. So we put ourselves in the shoes of the hair salons. There are 65,000 hair salons in France. So it's a profession that is really, really spread out. There's a lot of hair artists, a lot of hairstylists. And what we did, we stopped we froze the payments. So we froze the payments for all the hair artists. And then we thought how we can continue the dialogue without having like the visit from the reps to the phones. So we launched a program called Unfair, which is a program of live and videos online using our social network to do some education for the clients. But not objective at the beginning to sell. The only objective for us was really to get the link and make sure that after the crisis, they would be back with us. So they would not change the brands, they would stay with the brand. So those are the things we've done.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing these first actions. I mean, obviously, like everybody was scrambling and looking for the first right action to take as it unfolded. And you mentioned, Raphael, the importance of remaining connected despite the distance. Obviously, like PR and events are a key part of the beauty marketing playbook, and that's true for all your brands. I mean, at L'Oréal, at Fresh, at Makeup Forever. But I'm curious to know, Raphael, how did you supplement these strategies when in-person interactions have more or less disappeared, or at least are much harder to replicate?
Yeah, of course. Well, when we have to be where the consumer is. So unfortunately, during this period, we could not interact and engage with our consumers in store through services or through events. So we focus all our efforts where the consumers are, online. So we saw that during this period, the time spent on social media, on digital tools drastically increased. And clients that could have been reluctant to purchase online in the past did not have a choice during the lockdown and started to purchase online. So we had to answer the needs and expectation online as a brand. So naturally, we significantly increased our presence on digital through weekly Facebook Lives, Instagram takeovers, online masterclasses. And it not only helped us to remain connected to the consumer that used to purchase our product on brick and mortar and to our community, but it also helped us to reach out to a new audience and recruit new consumers. So, however, it has always been key for us to make sure that at all times we remain true to our essence. Like it wasn't to be out there at any cost. We really need to make sure that at each moment, at each time, we showcase our brand essence, our DNA, which is to showcase our high performance products and educate our consumers to empower themselves so they can find their personal edge. So make sure that the essence of the brand remain very strong and powerful, even through all those digital touch points.
That's awesome. And I think, Ida, you might have similar strategies. I know I've seen that you found new ways, or fresh new ways, pun intended, to adapt and stay relevant during the crisis, from creating fresh background for Zoom calls or delivering free products to frontline workers. What were your own strategies in that sense to stay connected to the new reality?
Yeah, just as I mentioned earlier, staying connected was the number one thing that we needed to do, and staying connected to the community was very important. I think everybody nowadays is thinking local, so they're thinking, what is a local mayor doing? What is it, how do we support our local restaurants or local, So I think, staying connected to the community was very important to us, and that was the one thing that we wanted to make sure we did. And everything was digital. So what we did, we really pivoted everything to online strategy and really geo-targeting, localizing our initiative. So within Canada itself, the lovely mosaic that we have to, every province has its own distinct, consumer, distinct, community. So we went into those communities and really listened and understood and targeted, how do we reach those? In Vancouver, we did some WeChat and Weibo focuses. In Montreal, we used local influencers in French to really focus on the skincare that was doing well in this market. In Toronto, we did something similar as well. So, really localizing everything digitally is what was one strategy that really, really helped us.
Interesting. And kind of as a follow-up question, you mentioned, the local approach in terms of marketing. Obviously, like you're seeing that trend, all of you, and it'd be interesting to hear Caroline as well in France because they're reopening the stores. But what we say here, the achat local, so the local purchases, this movement of buying local, is this something you're seeing, and is it impacting basically your business model? Is that something you're going to be heavily investing in the future?
For myself or for the rest of them?
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't clear. To all of you, maybe Ida as a follow-up, but I'd be curious also afterwards to hear about Caroline from the other side of the ocean as well.
Yes, definitely. When we started Fresh Canada, so Fresh has been within Canada for many, many years, but the entity itself started in about 2008. When we started, the most important thing that I wanted to happen was to take the global strategies, the North America strategies, and really localize it to Canada. So it's something that we have been doing since we started Fresh Canada. And so making sure that we continue doing this, because now more than ever, it's more important to be local. The other day, when you're seeing plate numbers from different provinces, you're like, well, what are they doing here? How did they get here? So, making sure that people are, in their communities and staying, feeling safe and feeling that you're heard and that they're spoken to. I think it's something we're leaning into even more now. Obviously, buying local is not something, Fresh is not a Canadian brand, but I think it's important to understand what the local consumers are looking for, and going and speaking to them in their language, in the digital approach that they like. So I think that's what we've done in the past, but leaning into it even more now.
And Caroline, that's something you're seeing as well in France. Is it as the buy local movement is going strong?
Absolutely, it's something that we saw in surveys, consumer surveys, and online. Something super strong, even like for groceries and stuff, something that we see everywhere. And us, for the brand, we are capitalizing on the French identity. So this is something we are going to be reinforcing in 2021 as well.
Interesting. And I'd like to, bring you somewhere else, but you have a different business model where you're basically selling your products mostly through hair salons, right? So with the shutdown, obviously you're codependent with your hair salons to sell your products. So how did you stay afloat during the shutdown? Any insights you can share on how you pivoted and managed to still reach your customers despite this new barrier?
Well, first of all, there was a bit of a fight between brands of L'Oreal, because we have brands that have mass markets and home coloration, while on the other side, you have professional brands who were just telling the consumers not to color their hair at home and wait for the salons to reopen. So we were on that side with L'Oréal Professionnel. So we were giving tips on how to, for instance, style your bangs if it was covering your hair, your eyes, and wait for the salons to reopen. And then selling products like hair touch-up, which is something when your hair starts to become gray, just to touch up the roots. So we had like little tricks like that. But then we also have another product, which is a styler with a total different business model. It's a steam styler for hair. It's called Timpod. And we had the model based on influencers and social setting. So what we've done was lives on our e-retailers channels with social media push and swipe up links with redirections towards the e-retailers. And each time we've done 3 with hair artists, and each time we're doing it lives, we've seen increase from 4 to 6 times versus a similar period. So that was pretty impressive.
Wow. That's impressive. And the whole virtual consultation, movement, obviously, like to supplement the lack of in-store interactions with brands, is really growing. Is that a trend, Raphael, that you're seeing? Maybe beauty brands are embracing it, but is that something you're going to see? You feel like it's temporary? It's an enduring trend that's emerging?
No, I think it's a new trend that is emerging for sure. Definitely, virtual consultation were nice to have, I would say, before COVID-19. but now it became a must-have. Over the last 4 months, brands and retailers as well just became sharper in leveraging this tool. And most importantly, consumers also became more demanding and more experts. So the same way we all learn to organize meetings for our kids at school or even for ourselves and run conferences through Zoom, consumers also adapted to this fairly new way to learn and to interact with the brands. So I'm convinced that when stores reopen their doors, this trend will get stronger. It basically became a new strong way to enrich the client experience online and also make it as seamless as possible with the client experience that they could get in store. So that's what I would say.
And what's unique to Makeup Forever as well is you have basically two customers, right? You have obviously the end customer, but you also have your makeup artists who could be seen as partners, as customers, depending on how you want to label it. Is virtual consultation or also like a tool you've been leveraging to stay connected with your professional community to empower them and stay connected? Yeah.
Totally. We did the webinars, masterclasses for school instructors, for pro makeup artists, and basically what we did, we adapted, I would say, the expertise that we were sharing according to the audience. So whether it's already a Makeup Forever user or just a beauty enthusiast or a professional makeup artist, we just adapted the level of the difficulty and of the makeup techniques that we were sharing and the product that we were using. A professional will go more into mixology, mixing product, and for a consumer for every day that is using foundation every day, we'll be more working about how to apply a flawless complexion or like more, I would say, basic to intermediate techniques. So also leveraging and leveling the level of expertise that we were sharing, adapting to our community and our end up user.
Interesting. And so obviously, like, I think it's getting clear that all of you have been adapting your playbook when it comes to connecting with customers, marketing your products and selling them. I'd be curious to see, like, if you've seen even more foundational changes in the product lines, because I was reading obviously it's Statistic Canada, so maybe different from your reality in France, Caroline. But according to Statistic Canada, hair coloring sales went up by 17% in April. So I'd be curious to see, like, if you've seen specific product lines that were doing just fine, just okay before COVID, and are starting to outperform other product lines as a result of the crisis. I mean, this is open to all of you, so please jump in as you see fit.
Like I can start if you don't mind. So during this time, COVID has been synonymous with self-care. Everyone is thinking self-care. So we saw, hair care and skincare really having a moment. And so people are taking the time that they haven't had before to really take care of their skin, their hair. And so at Fresh, we're lucky to be in the skincare business. So, and, we were able to pivot to speak to the client where they were. So we were lucky that happened. What we saw was, definitely we have Bath and Body. We saw, some new interest in Bath and Body products, and people have time now to take baths and take care of their skin, etc. What we did see, though, new segments appearing. So, for example, in skincare, you have serums, you have toners, you have masks, you have all these things where, in some countries, people take 15 steps in their skincare ritual. Whereas, when we have to be at the office at 8:30 in the morning, we'll just cleanse and moisturize. But now we saw that, clients are now asking and more curious about the different steps that are involved in a ritual. So asking more about serums, about essences, taking time to do more masks. So we saw more interest coming up in the things that adding to their routine. For example, we have this one essence called kombucha, which is a great essence. So it's a step that the North American client is not too familiar with. What's great about kombucha is it has blue light protection, and we're all in front of our computers all the time. So it gave them a more of an interest of, what is this product? I do need it. So I think, people are now adding more and more to their skincare routine that they didn't think they needed before, and they had the time. So I think we're seeing more interest in different steps. And then, pockets of, at times the Bath and Body, more interest because people have more time.
Interesting. Do you see similar trends on your side, Caroline?
Yes, actually, I want kombucha. I'd love to try it.
It's a great product.
Actually, this the trends were very similar in Europe. We had reports on all the brands of the group, and skincare was up, and coloration as well, but at home, obviously, for the same reasons we experienced. And then when there was like what we call déconfinement, when the lockdown stopped, we saw an increase of search for eye makeup if you're wearing the mask, obviously. So that's probably going to surge as well. Maybe Raphael, you have some insight on the topic.
Yes, well, to build on what Ida and Caroline were saying, definitely we saw that we just launched a new foundation with skincare components, and we saw that looking for skincare components is now something stronger and very, very much, I would say, essential in the beauty routine for all consumers. And as a matter of fact, this is kind of the product that during the lockdown we managed to sell the most. And also something quite interesting is that all the products that we saw a much bigger impact in terms of conversion from what we used to have, especially when a makeup artist or an influencer was talking about the product. We see that the number of conversation that they were generating were much higher than before, meaning that people were much at listening and following also those people. So we see that there's a huge impact also on social media through the influencer. The product that we're showcasing through influencers has a totally strong impact in sales, much higher than before the COVID. So the COVID just intensified this. And not yet, but I guess that's a trend that we'll see as people are going out and putting their mask, and they're all looking for exactly a mask-proof makeup. So long-lasting, obviously having a lipstick when you have a mask is not necessarily the most convenient and easy product to have. So we're seeing more makeup for the eyes, which is the part of the face that will not be covered, and with also long-lasting foundation are becoming stronger and also very important for the beauty routine in this new context.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, just the whole mask thing. As a man, I never thought of that, and it's so true. I mean, it just only the eyes can speak these days. So I'm assuming it's really impacting the choice of cosmetics that people are making. And so that's on the product side. I'd like to bring you back more on the we talked a lot about virtual consultation through, I guess, text or video chat. I'm curious to see, is there any other technology that was maybe like a nice to have before the crisis, and now it's becoming a must have in your business strategies that you're looking to leverage in the back half of 2020 and beyond? So in other words, like what technologies are you investing in, Raphael, right now to help bridge that gap between the physical and digital world?
Well, Etienne, you know better than everyone what we're doing at Makeup Forever. Because we're actually, it's thanks to you that we have this new technology. But to bring everybody back to how do we came up with this new technology, it's basically something very clear. We are evolving in a digital disruption era in retail, and the big question for Makeup Forever has always been, how can we leverage again our high performance products and education expertise to deliver a personalized customer experience at scale in the digital world. In other words, how can we bridge the gap between the digital and the physical stores? So as we started obsessing over this question, I think it was 2 years ago, this is when we met you, Etienne, and your amazing team at Heyday. So we developed together a virtual makeup artist. So it's a conversational commerce tool that allow us to guide online consumers to find the right foundation, to find the right shade, build their makeup routine, and also find the closest store or purchase a product online through our retailers' e-com. So this tool has been highly important from March to May when stores were closed. So we increased by 40 to 50% the number of conversations through our virtual makeup artist. So that was definitely a very strong tool. But also now that stores are reopening, but especially in Canada, I don't know if it's the same in France, but or in other countries around the world, but clients with the advisor are not allowed to touch the product. So it's very hard for them to choose the right product, choose the right foundation. So we are also working on having a QR code on the gondola that would drive to the virtual makeup artist and help in-store the client to purchase the right product. So we see how the technology helped us really to bridge the gap between digital and physical store. So first of all, how do we leverage the digital store and the digital experience and drive it to store? But also once we're in store, how can we leverage this technology to enhance the customer experience in store in the current context?
Yeah, big fan of the QR code idea. I think it's clever, and that's something I think it speaks to an underlying trend here. And I'm curious to hear Ida and Caroline on this. We're talking about chatbots, we're talking about QR codes, we're basically talking about reducing the number of contacts, or in the shopping experience, physical contacts, not to eliminate the interaction and the engagement, but rather to make shopping safer, right? So in this, I mean, there's a few buzzwords floating around with this new world: contactless commerce, touch-free retail. I mean, these are new trends emerging. Is that something you're seeing on your side, Ida and Caroline, as something that's going to be a new business imperative moving forward?
Definitely. I mean, it is a big thing. That's something that we're looking into because, in skincare, the whole experience, especially with Fresh, it's such a sensorial brand. The part of, appreciating the brand, not just the efficacy, but is to touch the feel, the smell of the product. And when our field team is in store selling the product, that's part of the conversation, is to touch the product, and yeah. So for us, we're looking at different ways of how to continue to enhance the experience of a Fresh product, but obviously without the touching someone and having them go and putting their finger in a jar, etc. So it's definitely things that we are looking into. Digital is the future. So we are definitely exploring different ways. Globally, I know in our China team is so far beyond. They're so well advanced, and we're learning from them and seeing what they're doing on a regular basis. And so more to come on that from our side.
In Caroline, in Europe, the tech ecosystem is slightly different. Any additional insights you can share with us on that front?
Well, I would say first that France is late. It has been late from the beginning with e-commerce and stuff. But now we are seeing, what is interesting is now that it's been a month that everything reopened, well, slowly. We saw that the trend that we seen during the lockdown of buying online is staying. So there's something there's a reverse action that is permanent and that is staying. And now that we're thinking about 2021, we're taking digital first. So for instance, if you want to do an event or a master class, we're not saying, oh, there's going to be a master class and maybe a live. We're thinking the opposite way. So we're going to do a live first, and maybe some people will attend. So we reverse the way we're thinking.
That's an interesting reversal. And you talked about SteamPod a little bit earlier in the conversation. I know because we had a few private conversations in the past, and in the old world when we could have lunch in Paris together, that was fun. I know. That was a nice plug of I went to Paris. But yeah, so based on these conversations, I know you're starting to explore, more of a direct consumer strategy with the SteamPod, amongst other things. Is that something you're seeing accelerated internally at L'Oréal because of the crisis? This new direct to consumer market?
Yes and no. I mean, for this, it's true that we were still really using direct to consumer, and social selling is something that we're doing, but maybe accelerating. So I think that the COVID period, what it did to us, there's things that we wanted to do in 2 years, but in 2 months it changed our mind, and we were able to take time to think. And since everything stopped, it's like you have a white page to start over and bring new habits. So now, for instance, we have hairstylists also, or participating to sales of the SteamPod and going to influencers as well. So we're building different business models to accelerate online sales.
And Afed and Ida, you're both. I mean, Makeup Forever and Fresh are both LVMH owned brands. So obviously, you're part of a bigger organization with different playbooks when it comes to e-commerce and different realities. But I'm curious. You're both selling primarily through Sephora. And luckily, Sephora.com is and Sephora.ca is pretty strong. But is the crisis kind of accelerating conversations? Because I know, at least Rafael on your side, I know that's something you're really like trying to pioneer at Makeup Forever, going direct with the consumer. And is this something that at least a crisis help amplify internally, or basically what's the feeling right now internally?
Well, definitely, I would say having our own e-commerce has always been on the table, having a Makeup Forever e-commerce, but I don't think that the whole situation that we've been facing over the last few months is accelerating this conversation. Again, I think the major objective here is to find the right tools to connect with the consumers online, whether they're purchasing on our own e-commerce or on our retailers, partners e-commerce. That's another conversation. But I think the most important here is how do we make sure that we offer the right customer experience online and that the brand is properly expressed. I would say it's the same challenge of why should we distribute it on brick and mortar in one retailer or in our own boutique or on a different retailer. At the end of the day, it just depends on the quality of the customer experience that we can offer in store or online. So that, I would say that's the major priority for us, is to keep enhancing this customer experience. If having our own e-commerce is definitely an essential and a must-have to make sure that this customer experience is the best we could, obviously the conversation will be more alive than ever. But today, I think we have so many steps and so many milestones to build on customer experience online that having our own e-commerce is not necessarily a strong priority right now. Yeah.
And Ida, you echo that sentiment?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think for what these past few months have brought to light is the power of digital and digital acceleration. And I think this has really fast-tracked not only our plans of the digital penetration of our business. I think the Canadian consumer has now seen the ease and convenience of buying online. Even those that were solely brick and mortar in the past have now been forced to buy online. They didn't have a choice. So now I think that consumer is now thinking omni-channel. So I think we're thinking omni-channel. We're not leaving retail alone. We're thinking, how do we bring that retail experience online, vice versa? So that's something that we're doing right away to make sure. And obviously, a .ca, a fresh.ca is something that in the future, definitely something that we would like to incorporate in the business. But, for the near future, I think what we are really understanding is the shift in the digital penetration. I think that's something that we need to, move our budgets to make sure that we are understanding what's happening there and lean into that faster. And that whole I think omni-channel is going to be, a word of the future, and it has already started being a word. It's not even in the future. So I think we need to think of the client not just like a retail brick and mortar client, but as an online client as well, and understand that experience and bring that experience to life.
Yeah, very good insights. And what's ironic though is that obviously there's all these realizations inside corporations where we need to be more agile, be more digital first, etc. But because of the crisis, obviously, sales have been dipping a little bit, and as a result, a lot of budgets have been slashed. So I'm curious to see, all of you're all working for big brands and organizations. Do you feel like this crisis has forced these organizations to act a bit more as startup, with smaller budget, but be a bit more nimble, a bit more agile? And how do you, and if so, maybe as a follow-up question, if so, do you feel like this is going to be an enduring way of working? Is it changing basically inside the organization?
Yeah, totally. Well, I think we've been more lean, and also we used to work with agencies for graphics or video editing. Now I had interns using their home computer and doing video editing on things we were posting online. So we were just really working as startups, agile. I think as Aida said at the very beginning of the conversation, I think being quick and agile were the two things that were the most important, and especially that we were putting spending. So we were acting as a startup, and then when the big bosses see that things can be done without, but those things sometimes become permanent. So there's definitely some ways of working also internally that we're going to be keeping. But then I would say also shifting investments to digital, like that's something that's going to be happening. Even it was already a trend, but I think it was kind of like we plateaued, and now it's going to be like going even further and faster.
Similar for you guys, I'm assuming as well. Ida on your side and MFA.
Yeah. Well, for as I mentioned earlier, Fresh Canada, the entity only started around the beginning of 2018.
Yeah.
So we were already working as a startup, so no huge shift there. But we were lucky to really understand what it was to be agile, to pivot, and to make sure that we are localizing. So I think those are the things that we were doing before. I think this accelerated what we were doing in terms of working as a startup. So it's definitely something that working from home, the productivity, employers in the past thought working from home would decrease productivity. We're seeing something completely different right now. So I think these are the things that we are now realizing and will continue to do. But we were lucky at Fresh to already have that startup frame of mind. So it wasn't something so drastic.
Right. Interesting.
Same here. I would say that Make Up Forever, the philosophy of the brand has always been very strong in as being always entrepreneurship. So the agility of adapting very quickly, like a makeup artist on set, there's no light. How do you do your makeup, and how do you react very quickly to a situation? Yeah, I think it's part of our DNA to actually deal with ambiguity and deal with adversity. And I was actually very surprised to see how fast the team here on a local level. I just give you an example. When we're multiplying our master classes by 20, multiplied by 20, the master classes we're doing online, it means that we need to train the whole team to be able to deliver those master classes. And that's something that we did very quickly. And we see that less than 10 days after the lockdown, the whole team was trained and able to deliver professional master classes online. So it's always a matter of agility, of being of adapting to a situation. That's definitely a key component of the brand philosophy from an organization standpoint, and that's not only in Canada, it's also worldwide. We see that very quickly. I'll say we accelerated on developing all the tools we need to be more efficient again online. So in terms of assets, in terms of tools like a digital shade finder, or all those digital tools that would help us to increase and to improve the customer experience online. The whole situation, the whole COVID-19 period is just boosting and putting a turbo on the organization to deliver those assets and those tools as soon as possible. Not because we are looking short term to answer a need that is happening right now, but because we believe that it's a long-term need that will be part of the customer experience in the future. So yeah, that's I think the key points here. Yeah.
Well, at least there's a silver lining here, and there's some good to it. We can find some good to it. New ways of working, more agile and more innovative. Yeah. Maybe just the last question on my end, because I see a few questions popping up in the chat, so I want to keep some time for the audience. So I guess I'm going to put you on the spot here, Caroline. We'll use you as our spy in a way. You're on the other side of the ocean. Obviously, the crisis hit a bit earlier on the European soil. And now you're reopening. So we're also starting to reopen in North America, but you had a bit of a head start. Any insights you can share to our North American audience about how it's happening and what you're seeing in the field?
Yeah, I would say, well, it's the new normal. So people are adapting really, really quickly to the measures that are taken. So sanitary measures, masks when you go to the hairdressers. We did a survey, and 77% of clients are satisfied or very satisfied with the experience we had in salon. So that's a thing. The digital trend, it was not a COVID thing, so that's also accelerating. There's no way back. So people who started buying online, there's even more people buying online now that stores are reopened, which is a bit, it was not necessarily what we were expecting. So I would say these are the two things that I noticed, but things are not, strangely, people are getting used to the new normal quicker than we would expect. This is what
there's more omni-channel, like you buy online, but you pick up in store. Is that what you're seeing, or?
In some cases, I've seen that, but also home deliveries, even if things are still open. People took new habits, and now that stores have reopened, so people are buying clothes, and they have like opportunities to wear makeup or wear like clothes. So we're seeing consumption is picking up, but people are still buying online, although stores are open now.
Great stuff. We have 3 great questions from the audience, so I'll jump right in. This one is from Chris Cascanet and Ivan Sanchez from Ivan Sanchez Beauty. Sorry. So, what are some of the long-term impacts of COVID-19 on your business model, and what lasting changes will remain in place as a result of pivoting? So, what's the thing that's going to be, the change that's going to become enduring that you're seeing? Number one.
Definitely. Well, I can start. Definitely for us is the focus on the digital piece. We focused on even eventing. We would focus on in-person events, etc. That I think we're going to definitely shift to do webinars, virtual events. So definitely that's going to continue. Just because the Canadian consumer has also adapted and shifted the way they shop. And until consumer confidence is really back to where it was before, to be out and about all the time, I think this is going to continue to increase. So that's something that is really going to, we're going to continue to focus on that.
Any compliment of an answer, Caroline or Raphael, or I have other questions if ever, so you can answer the next ones.
Yeah, I don't want to repeat myself, but I think really the business is slowly shifting to online, even for like professionals and salons. So that's something also it's really accelerating. So traditional, it was a good opportunity for us also to push also the salons to be more digital, to have online appointments, which very strangely not every salon has. Then also for the business models, even us selling to salons, selling through e-retailers. So yes, everything is changing very quickly now.
Yeah. Well, on my end, I would say that the only thing that is forever is makeup. Makeup is forever. Sorry for the easy play on words here, but I think that consumption habits are changing. Were changing before the crisis, with definitely a shift from in-store to online. So I think that now this channel not only will remain very strong, that digital is definitely a thing, but it will become stronger. But now it's also be complementary to the brick and mortar channel. And I think the concept, to build on what Ida was saying earlier, the concept of omni-channel retail is now strongly anchored. And I also believe that physical stores are facing some changes and some challenges, but will always remain essential and present in the beauty industry. So it's more a matter of finding the right ecosystem to build the beauty experience really omni-channel with a seamless client experience in store and online.
Excellent. The next question comes from Amy Liddon. How do you plan on maintaining online sales as the lockdown eases and users aren't online as much?
Well, definitely keep doing or building on what we were doing. It means having still connecting with the consumers through the master classes, all the digital levers that we have in place. We're going to keep using them. Now that we are becoming sharper, using them also. So it's always a matter of keeping connected with this audience. And definitely there might be an impact in the online sales that might drop a little bit. But I think at the end of the day, first of all, the traffic in store is not going to be back to normal for now, because we don't expect traffic to be normal before September, October. So it will take some time before the consumers get used to the new context, and also have no, I'll say, fear or go back to a normal way of purchasing in store. In the meantime, we're also recruiting, as I said earlier, online. So the idea is to keep recruiting online through our master classes, through all our initiative digital, and driving obviously the sales to store, but as much as possible also online, because we're seeing that we've been successful over the last 3 months making this conversion and driving those sales online. So that's something that we'll keep doing. At which extent it will be as successful as it has been during the lockdown, to be honest, I don't know. That's $1 million question. But at least all the efforts and say that the quality of the experience that we're delivering online keeps improving. So I have no doubt that this trend is going to remain very strong. Yeah.
Caroline, do you have well, you already kind of talked about it. We're seeing online sales remaining strong. You don't even have to plan on doing anything. It's already happening. So you kind of answered that question already. And the last one would be for Ida for Fresh. Have you launched Fresh at home in Canada as you did in France? And if so, I guess, do you want to keep this service post-COVID?
No, we have not. We have not launched it. In Canada, we're really found mostly via Sephora. So this is what we have not launched it, but it's something that we are constantly speaking to our partners globally to understand what's worked, what doesn't work. So in Europe, in Asia. So it's definitely something, this is a time where we want to learn from each other. Whereas in the past, we just localized, but, bringing in what has worked in countries that have gone through and what has worked is something we are very interested in, and we're going to be exploring it more.
Awesome. And just the last one actually just popped up again. So this one is for Raphael at Makeup Forever. So on the e-commerce website of Makeup Forever in France, you can now find the shade finder tool. Are you interested in this kind of digital tool, virtual try-on, even if you do not have an e-commerce website?
Definitely. So before this tool was developed from our HQ in Paris for the European e-commerce site, well, we developed here in Canada our virtual makeup artist with Heyday, which is this chat box that helps to find the right shade and the right foundation through the artificial intelligence. So we have this tool already in Canada. It has been more than a year now, almost a year, I should say. And but definitely, so we have this tool, we're using it, and it has been quite successful in driving sales online and in store, but especially online over the last few months. This tool, having a digital shade finder, is definitely something that we want to leverage also in Canada. But as I said earlier, more as a tool for in-store, meaning that if the consumer and the beauty advisor cannot touch the product and cannot be shade match in-store, use this tool as a device, as a solution to find the right shade in-store. But definitely we're interested, and we're actually working in implementing this tool here in Canada as well. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Raphael, for your intervention. Same for Caroline in France for joining us at almost dinner time. And Ida, from the comfort of your kitchen.
Yeah,
I love the setting. So it's been very, time flew by. So I feel like it was an enjoyable conversation, lots of insights, and hopefully the audience kind of drank from the fire hose, because there was a lot of great insights here. So thanks again. Have a great end of the day, and enjoy the sun, the Montreal sun for us here. And hopefully it seems to be sunny in France as well, in Paris. So enjoy your night, Caroline.
Thank you so much.
All right, bye-bye. Take care, guys.
Everyone, thank you for your time.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.